Today, we need to talk about something that's been keeping me up at night. Starting January 2026, there are new airport rules specifically affecting travelers over 70, and I'm seeing seniors getting turned away at the gate because nobody warned them. Nobody. And that breaks my heart because these are preventable situations. You might be thinking, I've been flying for decades. I know what I'm doing. And you're right, you probably do. But here's the thing. The rules changed, not just little tweaks. We're talking about documentation requirements, security procedures, and boarding policies that are completely different from what you experienced even 2 years ago. And if you show up unprepared, you could be denied boarding. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you didn't know about rules that weren't even announced properly. This isn't just theory. This is real-world knowledge from someone who will personally hand you that extra blanket. Who's seen what happens when passengers don't know their rights? Just last month, I watched a 73-year-old gentleman miss his daughter's wedding because his ID didn't meet the new federal requirements. He had no idea the ticket agent had no flexibility, and that flight took off without him. I don't want that to be you. And here's what really gets me. The airlines aren't making this information easy to find. You won't see it plastered on their websites. You won't get an email warning. You're expected to just know, and that's not fair. That's why I'm here, breaking down every single rule, every requirement, every right you have, so you can walk into that airport with confidence instead of confusion. If you want more practical travel secrets straight from the galley, please do me a favor and smash that subscribe button right now. And tell me in the comments, are you over 70? Or are you helping a senior traveler prepare for an upcoming flight? I read every single comment and build my videos based on what you want to know. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to share 11 critical things you need to know before you step foot in that airport in 2026. These aren't suggestions, these are requirements. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to handle each one. Let's start with the one that's catching the most people off guard. Number 1. The new Real ID Deadline Reality Check. Here's what's happening. As of May 7, 2025, you cannot board a domestic flight with a standard driver's license anymore. It must be a Real ID compliant license. And here's the kicker. Many seniors renewed their licenses years ago and have no idea whether theirs is compliant or not. From my experience in the galley, I've seen this confusion cause more gate delays than weather. Passengers arrive with a license they've had for 8 years, and suddenly they're told it's not valid for air travel. The stress, the panic, the missed flights. It's heartbreaking. And what makes it worse is that this deadline has been pushed back multiple times over the years, so people stop taking it seriously. But this time, it's real. It's happening. And TSA is not budging. Here's what you need to do right now. Take out your driver's license. Look at the top right corner. Do you see a star inside a circle? Or a star inside a cutout of your state? That's the Real ID marker. If you don't see that star, your license will not get you through TSA starting May 2025. Period. No exceptions. No sob stories. No flexibility. Now, if your license isn't compliant, don't panic. You have options. You can use a valid U.S. passport or passport card instead. These are always acceptable. But if you don't have a passport and your license isn't Real ID compliant, you need to visit your DMV now. Not next month, now. Because appointments are already booking out weeks in advance as the deadline approaches. In some states, I'm hearing wait times of 6 to 8 weeks. That's almost 2 months. So if you have travel plans this spring or summer, you need to handle this immediately. I once had a passenger named Margaret, 76 years old, traveling to see her first great-grandchild. She got to the airport 3 hours early, did everything right, and was turned away at security because her license didn't have that star. She didn't know. Nobody told her. She missed that flight and had to reschedule, costing her hundreds of dollars and missing the baby's first day home. The look on her face when she realized she couldn't board, it still haunts me. Don't be Margaret. Check your ID today. Number 2. Medical documentation you actually need, not what you think. Let me clear up some major confusion. You do not need a doctor's note just because you're over 70. That's a myth. Airlines cannot discriminate based on age alone. However, there are specific medical situations where documentation is now required, and the rules tightened in late 2025. Here's the insider truth. If you require supplemental oxygen, use a wheelchair for mobility beyond standard airport distances, or have a condition that might require medical attention during flight, you need to complete a medical clearance form 48 to 72 hours before departure. This is new. It used to be more flexible. Airlines used to accept verbal confirmation or same-day documentation, but not anymore. The form is called a META Medical Information Form, and not every airline calls it the same thing. Delta calls it a Special Service Request. United calls it Accessible Travel Services. American calls it Special Assistance, but they all want the same information. A doctor's signature confirming you're fit to fly, details about your condition, what accommodations you'll need, and whether you'll require any assistance during the flight. Here's what you need to say when you call the airline. I need to submit medical clearance documentation for my upcoming flight. Can you email me the required form? They will send it. Get your doctor to complete it. Submit it at least 48 hours before your flight. This is not optional. Without it, the gate agent can deny you boarding if they believe you might have a medical emergency in flight. And trust me, gate agents are trained to look for signs: heavy breathing, difficulty walking, visible medical equipment. If they see something concerning and you don't have that clearance form, they have the authority to refuse boarding. Now, if you're healthy and flying without any medical equipment or assistance, you don't need this. But if you have any doubt, maybe you use a cane, maybe you have a heart condition, call the airline. It's better to have documentation you don't need than to need documentation you don't have. Trust me on this one. Number 3. Prescription medication rules that changed. This one catches people off guard all the time. As of 2026, TSA has stricter rules about prescription medications, especially liquids and controlled substances. And this is directly related to the ongoing opioid crisis and increased security measures around pharmaceuticals. Here's what most seniors don't know. Your pills need to be in their original prescription bottles, not a pill organizer, not a Ziploc bag. The original pharmacy bottle with your name, the prescribing doctor, and the medication name clearly labeled. If you're traveling with a week's worth of pills in one of those daily organizers, TSA can confiscate them. I know that's inconvenient, especially if you take multiple medications throughout the day. But here's why it matters. TSA needs to verify that the medication belongs to you and is legal. Without that prescription label, they have no way to confirm it. And with increased security around opioids and controlled substances, they're not taking chances anymore. Here's what you do. Before you pack, separate out the pills you need for your trip and ask your pharmacist for a duplicate labeled bottle. Most pharmacies will do this for free if you explain you're traveling. Keep that bottle in your carry-on, never in checked luggage. Checked bags get lost. Your heart medication cannot get lost. I've seen too many passengers arrive at their destination without their critical medications because their checked bag went to the wrong city. For liquids, things like insulin or liquid antibiotics, you're allowed to bring more than the standard 3.4 ounces, but you must declare them at the security checkpoint. Don't just throw them in your bag and hope they don't notice. Walk up to the TSA officer and say, "I have medically necessary liquids in my bag that exceed 3.4 ounces." They'll pull your bag aside and test the liquids. It takes an extra 2 minutes. That's it. But if you don't declare them and they find them during screening, you could face additional screening, questioning, and delays that could cause you to miss your flight. One more thing. If you use injectable medications like insulin or EpiPens, carry a copy of your prescription or a doctor's note. It's not legally required, but it makes the process so much smoother. I've seen passengers get held up for 20 minutes because TSA wasn't sure about their insulin pens. A simple prescription printout solves that instantly. Number 4. TSA PreCheck for seniors. The free alternative nobody mentions. Everyone talks about TSA PreCheck, and yes, it's fantastic. You keep your shoes on, your belt on, your laptop stays in your bag. It's a dream. But did you know that travelers 75 and older get to keep their shoes and light jackets on even in the regular TSA line? This is a little-known TSA accommodation that started in 2023, and most seniors have no idea about it. You don't need to pay for PreCheck to get some of the benefits. If you're 75 or older, you can leave your shoes on during standard screening. You still have to remove your belt if it has a large buckle. But the shoes? Nope. Keep them on. This policy exists because TSA recognizes that seniors have a higher risk of falls and balance issues, and asking them to remove shoes in a rushed, crowded security line creates unnecessary hazard. Here's what you do. When you get to the security line, tell the TSA officer, "I'm 75 and I'd like to keep my shoes on." They'll direct you through. That's it. It's your right. It's official TSA policy. Use it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And if a TSA officer isn't aware of this policy, which does happen occasionally, politely ask to speak with a supervisor. The supervisor will confirm it. Now, if you're under 75 but over 70 and you're thinking, what about me? Here's my crew secret. Get TSA PreCheck. It's $78 for 5 years, which breaks down to about $16 per year. That's less than one checked bag fee. And the time and stress you save? Priceless. You can apply online, schedule an appointment at an enrollment center, and you'll have it within 2 to 3 weeks. The appointment itself takes about 10 minutes. They'll take your fingerprints, verify your identity, and you're done. But here's the insider tip nobody tells you. If you have certain credit cards, they reimburse the TSA PreCheck fee. Cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Capital One Venture, or even some American Express cards cover it completely. Check your credit card benefits before you pay out of pocket. You might already have this covered and not even know it. Number 5. The pre-boarding rights they don't announce. All right, this is a big one. Airlines are required by federal law to allow passengers who need extra time or assistance to board before general boarding begins. This includes seniors. But here's the problem. They don't always announce it clearly, and many seniors feel embarrassed to ask. I hear it all the time. I don't want to be a burden. Other people need it more than me. I can manage. Let me tell you something from 15 years in the galley. We want you to pre-board. We would much rather have you settled in your seat before the chaos of general boarding than have you struggling down the aisle with 200 people behind you. It's safer for you. It's easier for us. And it keeps the boarding process moving smoothly. There's absolutely no shame in asking for help. None. Here's what qualifies you for pre-boarding. If you need extra time to get settled. If you need to store a mobility device. If you have difficulty walking long distances. Or if you simply feel more comfortable boarding early, you qualify. Age alone doesn't automatically qualify you, but needing extra time does. And let's be honest, many of us over 70 do need that extra time. Joint pain, slower movement, balance concerns. These are real factors that affect boarding. Here's exactly what you say at the gate. I'd like to request pre-boarding because I need extra time to get settled. That's it. You don't need to justify it. You don't need a doctor's note. You don't need to explain your entire medical history. You don't need to feel guilty. The gate agent will allow you to board during the pre-boarding phase, which happens right after active military and families with small children. Now, some airlines call this priority boarding or courtesy boarding, but it's all the same thing. You board early. No extra charge. It's free. It's your right under the Air Carrier Access Act. And I want to emphasize this because I've seen gate agents who don't understand the policy or who try to restrict pre-boarding to only wheelchair users. That's wrong. If you need extra time for any reason related to a disability or condition, you're entitled to pre-board. I once had a lovely couple in their early 70s who didn't know to ask. They waited until their boarding group was called and the husband was using a cane. By the time they got down the aisle, he was exhausted and nearly fell trying to lift their carry-on into the overhead bin. If they had pre-boarded, I would have been there to help them with no rush, no crowd, no stress. Please, my wonderful seniors, ask for pre-boarding. We're here to help you. Number 6. New mobility device screening procedures. If you use a cane, walker, wheelchair, or any mobility device, TSA updated their screening procedures in 2025, and you need to know what to expect so you're not caught off guard. These changes came about because of enhanced security protocols and new scanning technology that can detect a wider range of threats. Here's what changed. TSA now uses advanced screening technology for mobility devices, which means your device might go through a separate scanner or get swabbed for explosives. This is standard procedure. It's not personal. They're not singling you out. They screen every mobility device the same way they screen laptops and shoes. But if you don't know it's coming, it can feel invasive and frustrating. Here's the process. When you arrive at security, tell the TSA officer, "I use a mobility device and need assistance." They will direct you to a separate lane where they can accommodate you. Your device will be inspected either by hand or through a scanner, and you'll be asked to walk through the metal detector or receive a pat-down if you can't walk through. The entire process typically adds about 5 minutes to your screening time, so factor that into your arrival planning. Now, if you cannot stand or walk through the metal detector, you can request to remain seated in your wheelchair. TSA will conduct a pat-down screening while you're seated. This is allowed. This is your right. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I've heard stories of TSA officers who weren't properly trained trying to force passengers to stand or walk through the detector. That's not acceptable. Here's the magic phrase. "I need to remain seated for screening due to mobility limitations." They will accommodate you. If they give you any pushback, ask to speak with a TSA supervisor. Supervisors are trained on these accommodations and will make sure you're treated properly. And if you feel your rights were violated during screening, you can file a complaint with TSA afterwards. Every checkpoint has a feedback process. One more insider tip. If you're traveling with a collapsible wheelchair or walker, collapse it before you get to security. It makes the screening process faster because it can go through the X-ray belt more easily. If you need help collapsing it, ask a TSA officer or airline employee. They'll help you. Don't struggle with it on your own. Number 7. Wheelchair assistance. When to request earlier than you think. This is critical. If you need wheelchair assistance at the airport, you must request it when you book your ticket, or at least 48 hours before your flight. Not when you get to the airport. Not at check-in. 48 hours in advance. This is probably the single most important piece of advice I can give you about airport accessibility. Here's why this matters. Airlines contract with third-party companies to provide wheelchair services, and those companies staff based on advance requests. If you show up at the airport needing a wheelchair and you didn't pre-request it, you might wait 30 minutes or more for someone to become available. And I'm not exaggerating. I've personally witnessed wait times of 45 minutes to an hour during busy travel periods. I've seen seniors miss flights because they waited too long for wheelchair assistance that should have been pre-arranged. Here's what you do when you book your ticket online. Look for a section called Special Services or Accessibility Requests. Check the box for wheelchair assistance. If you're booking by phone, tell the agent, "I need wheelchair assistance from check-in to the gate and from the gate to baggage claim on arrival." Be specific. They need to know exactly where you need help. Some passengers only need help getting through the terminal but can manage the jetway. Others need assistance all the way to their seat. The more specific you are, the better they can serve you. If you already booked your ticket and didn't request it, call the airline now. Say, "I have a flight on date, and I need to add wheelchair assistance to my reservation." They'll update it in the system. Make sure you get a confirmation number for that request. Write it down, because occasionally, requests get lost in the system, and having that confirmation number ensures you can prove you requested it. Now, here's the insider truth. Wheelchair assistance is free on all U.S. airlines. Free. It's part of the Air Carrier Access Act. You don't tip the wheelchair attendant, though many passengers do because they're grateful for the help, but you don't have to. The service is free, and you should never feel like you're imposing. These attendants are hired specifically to help passengers who need mobility assistance. It's their job, and they're happy to do it. From my experience in the galley, I can tell you that we'd much rather you request a wheelchair than try to tough it out and risk falling or exhausting yourself. Airports are huge. Some terminals require walking a mile or more from check-in to your gate. Gates are far. Concourses are long. You're allowed to ask for help. You've earned it. There's no shame in recognizing your limitations and taking advantage of services that exist specifically for you. Number 8. The invisible disability accommodations. Not all disabilities are visible. Maybe you have chronic pain, arthritis, breathing issues, anxiety in crowds, or cognitive challenges. These are real conditions that affect your ability to navigate an airport comfortably. and you are entitled to accommodations even if you don't look disabled. This is something airlines really don't advertise enough, and it results in people suffering through travel when they don't have to. Here's what airlines don't advertise. You can request extra time, priority seating, escort services, or other accommodations, even without a visible mobility device. The Air Carrier Access Act protects you, but you have to speak up, because gate agents and crew can't read minds. We can't see arthritis. We can't see anxiety. We can't see chronic pain. You have to tell us. Here's what you say. I have a disability that's not immediately visible, and I need specific accommodation. For example, I have severe arthritis and I need to pre-board so I can store my bag without rushing. Or, I have anxiety in crowded spaces and I need assistance navigating security. Airlines are required to provide reasonable accommodations. Reasonable means it doesn't fundamentally change the flight operation. Pre-boarding? Reasonable. Extra time? Reasonable. Requesting a specific seat near the bathroom because you have a medical condition? Reasonable. Asking to sit in an exit row without meeting the requirements? Not reasonable. And here's something else you should know. If you have cognitive challenges, memory issues, or conditions like early-stage dementia, you can request what's called a Meet and Assist service. This means an airline employee will meet you at check-in, help you through security, escort you to your gate, and make sure you board the correct flight. On arrival, they'll meet you at the gate and escort you to baggage claim or to whoever is picking you up. This service exists, it's free, and it can make the difference between a terrifying travel experience and a manageable one. Number 9. Companion care seating rules you need to know. If you're traveling with a caregiver, family member, or companion who's helping you during your trip, there are specific seating rules that protect your right to sit together. And these rules changed in 2024, so even if you've traveled before, this might be new information. Here's the law. Airlines must make every reasonable effort to seat you next to your companion at no extra charge if one of you has a disability that requires assistance. This means if you need help during the flight, eating, using the bathroom, managing anxiety, anything, the airline cannot force you to pay extra to sit together. This was a huge victory for disability rights advocates, because airlines used to charge families extra for seat selection even when it was medically necessary. Here's what you do. When booking your ticket, if the system tries to charge you for seats, call the airline directly. Say, I have a disability, and I need to sit next to my companion for assistance during the flight. I'm requesting adjacent seating at no additional charge under the Air Carrier Access Act. They will override the fees. Get this in writing or get a confirmation number. If you're already at the airport and you weren't seated together, go to the gate agent before boarding. Explain the situation. They have the authority to reassign seats. Most gate agents are understanding and will help you immediately. But if you encounter resistance, which does happen, ask for a supervisor. Supervisors are more familiar with disability accommodation laws and will ensure compliance. Number 10. Oxygen and CPAP machines. What's allowed and what's not. If you use supplemental oxygen or a CPAP machine, traveling by air requires advanced planning and specific documentation. The rules around medical devices on planes are strict, and violating them can result in denied boarding. Here's what you need to know. You cannot bring your own oxygen tanks on a plane. Period. They're not allowed in the cabin or in checked baggage. However, you can bring FAA-approved portable oxygen concentrators, or POCs. These are battery-powered devices that pull oxygen from the air. If you need oxygen during your flight, you must use a POC, and it must be on the FAA's approved list. Here's the process. Contact your airline at least 48 hours before your flight. Tell them, I need to use a portable oxygen concentrator during my flight. They'll ask for documentation from your doctor and information about your POC model. Make sure your device is on the FAA-approved list. Bring extra batteries. They must be in your carry-on. And arrive at the airport early because TSA will need to screen your device. For CPAP machines, good news. These do not count toward your carry-on allowance. You can bring your CPAP in addition to your regular carry-on and personal item. But you should notify the airline in advance, especially if you're taking an overnight flight and want to use it. Some airlines allow CPAP use during flight if you have a battery-powered device. Plug-in CPAPs can only be used if you're in a seat with a power outlet, which is mostly in premium cabins. Number 11. Connecting flight protection and meet and assist services. If you have connecting flights and you're worried about making your connection, especially in a large airport, there's a service most seniors don't know exists. It's called Meet and Assist, and it can be a lifesaver when you're traveling through busy hubs like Atlanta, Chicago, or Dallas. Here's how it works. When you book your ticket, or at least 48 hours before your flight, request Meet and Assist service. An airline employee will meet you at your arrival gate, help you navigate to your connecting gate, and make sure you board on time. This is especially helpful if you have mobility limitations, if you're unfamiliar with the airport, or if you have a tight connection. The service is free. It's part of the airline's accessibility services, but you must request it in advance. They can't provide it on the spot because they need to schedule staff. Here's what you say when booking. I have a connection in city, and I'd like to request Meet and Assist service to help me get to my next gate. They'll add it to your reservation. And here's an insider tip. If you have a short connection, less than an hour, and you're concerned about making it, call the airline before your trip. Explain your situation. They can sometimes rebook you on a later flight with a longer layover, or they can add Meet and Assist to prioritize getting you to your next gate quickly. Airlines would rather help you make your connection than deal with rebooking you if you miss it.